Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over a classic men's cut. This is my model Chris, and he's a fantastic model to learn on because on one side he has a hard part line and on the other his haircut is blended. So we're going to learn both techniques today. So first I'm going to go over what tools you should use and how to use them, and then we'll get right into the cut. These are the tools we'll be using today. You'll need a comb, a clip, and hairdressing shears. If you don't have shears, try to go for a thin, sharp scissor. Avoid anything that's thick or bulky. We're going to be using both a clipper and a trimmer for today's haircut. Clippers are for cutting the bulk of the hair, while trimmers are for precision work like hairlines and around the ears. There are two different types of clippers, ones that have metal blades to determine length, and ones that use plastic guards. For this cut, we'll be using the one with plastic guards. The ones with metal blades are going to cost a lot more money, and you just don't really need it for at-home haircuts. So we'll be using the Wahl Sterling as our clipper and the Sterling Stylist as our trimmer. If you're at home and you only have a trimmer, if it has guards, you'll still be able to follow along with this haircut. Generally, guard sizes tend to go by 1/8 of an inch. So a number 1 is 1/8 of an inch, a number 2 is 2/8 or a quarter, and a number 3 is 3/8 of an inch. When you put it on your clipper, you'll notice that there's a handle on the side, and that opens your blade up, and that gives you an extra half size of length. So if I was cutting someone's hair with a number 1, I'm at 1/8 of an inch. As I'm blending, I can open up the blade, and now it's 1/16 of an inch longer. So if I was starting with a number 1, I would cut with a 1, open my blade, cut with a 1.5, and then switch to my number 2. So if the blade is closed, now we're at a solid number 2. If I open it up, now it's a 2.5. 2.5. And then I would switch to my 3. And if I was going even higher, I could open it up and go to a 3.5. First, choose your starting length. This is going to be the shortest length of your haircut. For Chris, I chose a number 1 guard, which is 1/8 of an inch. Start from the hairline and work your way up, and when you get to the point where you want to start blending to a longer length, rock the clipper backwards. This pulls the blade away from the head and it blends your cut. This technique can take a little bit of time to master, but it'll help make your blending that much smoother. Using the handle on the side of the clipper, open up your blade for an extra half size of length. Then keep going up the back of the head, rocking the clipper out when you reach the point where you want to switch to a longer length. Now switch to the next guard size. For Chris, I started with a number 1, so I'll switch to a 2. Make sure your blade is closed and repeat the previous steps, moving up the head and rocking the clipper out anytime you want to change length. To make a hard part line, you're going to repeat the same steps as the back, only the clipper will go all the way up to the part. Because you're starting around ear level and not as low as the back hairline, your starting length should be slightly longer. For instance, on Chris, in the back I started with a number 1, but on the side, I'll be starting with my blade open, making it a 1.5. Ears are bendable for a reason. On the sides, don't be afraid to move your client's ear to get the clipper where you need it to be. As you approach the part line, make sure the top is securely clipped out of the way. I chose a 1/4 inch or number 2 as Chris's longest side length, and I'm bringing my blade as close as possible to the part line without cutting any of the top section. Use your shears to double check for any long hairs or strays that you missed with the clipper. For a blended side, we're going to repeat the same steps as the back section, but we'll increase our cutting length until it's the same length as the top. So for Chris's haircut, that means we'll be moving from a 1.5 as we cut around the ear, all the way up to a 3.5 as we move towards the top. Remember to open and close your blade for half sizes, and always rock the clipper out between sections. The longest hair in this cut is going to be the top front section. Chris likes to sweep his hair to the side, so I'll be leaving a couple inches, but for styles like spikes or a faux hawk, anything where you want some height, make sure to go a bit shorter. Once you've chosen a length, comb the hair down onto the forehead and cut straight across. Don't worry about texture, we're going to add that later. Make sure to take your time and get this cut straight, since it'll be the guide for the rest of the top section. Now we want to connect our longest point, the front, to our shortest point, the back. To do this, take a 1/2 inch thick section that goes from front to back and cut diagonally to connect the two. Once you've connected the two lengths, pick up the next 1/2 inch section and repeat, moving all the way across the head. Since we cut our sections front to back, you check them by doing the opposite and making your sections from side to side. Pull up 1/2 inch sections and double check for any bumps or dips in the length. You want each section to be straight across. To soften thick hair or to add texture, we're going to do what's called point cutting. Take thin sections of hair and turn your shears so that you're cutting vertically into just the tips of the hair. This is a tricky technique and it's easy to overdo, so start with very light cuts and add more as needed. Do this for the entire top portion. To clean up the edges, we'll be using our trimmer. Turn the blade sideways so that only a tiny edge is touching the skin. If you're blending with a beard, comb the beard hair sideways and then run the trimmer straight down the line of the sideburn. This will trim the beard edge to a proper length. Then we're going to cut the excess hair around the ear, following the natural hairline. Be careful not to cut into the hairline because this will create a bald spot. When you're finished, repeat this process on the other side. Remove the bulk of the neck hair with your trimmer, and then turn it upside down to make sharp edge lines. Chris prefers a square hairline, but rounded is another popular style. Once you've created your lines, remove any hair that falls outside of them. And that's it. That's a men's cut. Thank you all for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, you can find us on Instagram at foundations_hair and makeup.